What's up guys, it's Ed back again with Tech Source, and today we're going to be talking about the Nexus 6P. The Nexus phones have always been just okay. They've never been great. I mean, sure, they always ran the latest version of Android, but something was always lacking, either from the build quality, the camera quality, or just from the specs inside the phone. And I'm happy to say we finally have a Nexus phone that isn't just okay. It's great. So I'm going to do something different in this video and talk about the negatives first, just because there are so little. We might as well just get them out of the way. The first negative is that the 6P does not have micro SD card support, but we all expected this from Google's past anti-micro SD card stance. But the good news here is that you can get the version that has 128GB of storage, with the base model starting at 32GB. The second negative is, well, hey Bob, do you have any more negatives about the Nexus 6P? Well, that seems about right, because honestly, you'll be hard stretched to find anything else wrong or disappointing about this device. The materials Huawei used to craft this Nexus phone makes for an excellent build, from the feel all the way to the look. Finally, owning a Nexus phone also means you own a premium handset. With a contoured aluminum body, this thing feels great in the hand. The only thing is that it could get slippery at times, so I slapped a skin on here to add some more grip and give this phone a little more style. I will leave a link down below if you guys want to check out some skins for yourselves. It seems like Google really paid attention to the smaller details in this phone. For example, I like how the upper back is slightly raised to make room for the internals instead of how some other manufacturers do it by only raising the camera module. This way it's a lot more seamless, and when pulling this thing out of my pocket, I find myself using that bulge to pull out the Nexus in the right direction with my finger ready on the fingerprint scanner, which by the way is super quick and super accurate. It's on par with pretty much every other good Android fingerprint scanner out there. And the cool thing here is you don't have to hit the wake button in order for it to start working. If the scanner reads a finger that it doesn't recognize, it will vibrate twice, letting the user know to try another finger. And if it does recognize the fingerprint, it will vibrate once as it unlocks your device. So by the time I take this thing out of my pocket, I'm ready to go, already on my lock screen. The front of the display is flanked by two front-facing stereo speakers, which are amazing, and honestly they're comparable to the speakers even on the HTC One M9 and makes this device great for consuming media. From watching movies, playing games, or even listening to music, these speakers really shine. They also get extremely loud, which is great. Now my friends can hear the audio from those cat videos I show them at parties. The AMOLED display on the 6P is great, as we've come to expect from flagship phones these days. On paper, it's the same display that was on the Nexus 6 last year, but this one is a tad bit better in a few ways. First, it gets brighter, which makes using this phone in bright rooms much easier. That, coupled with the better viewing angles, make the visual aspect of media consumption on this phone great. The colors still pop like AMOLEDs all do, but not as drastically as the Nexus 6 did last year, which is a welcome change as the screen is more accurate now. Pushing all these pixels is a Snapdragon 810 processor, an Adreno 430 GPU, and 3GB of RAM, and there's also a 3450 mAh battery in here. And as you would expect, there isn't any lag on this phone. I mean, the apps would occasionally crash, and the home screen would hang sometimes, but other than those hiccups, I've experienced zero lag. This thing also handles gaming like a boss, and if mobile gaming is your thing, then this should be your next toy. The battery life is also really good. Now I'm a heavy user, and as much as I tried, I couldn't get this thing to die out on me before the end of the day. I would typically get 4 hours of on-screen time, which is great, and that coupled with Android M's new doze feature, which puts the phone into a sleep state, and you guys can actually see when it kicked in through the battery settings menu. It's comparable to how the iPhone saves battery, where I can go into sleep with 40% battery and wake up with only 38% still left, where before Android M it would drain all the way down to 20%. This software optimization implemented throughout the day makes for outstanding battery life. And let's not forget about this phone's quick charging, which gave me around 65% battery in about 40 minutes. It's also a good time to mention it uses USB-C to charge up. Being a Nexus, of course, this phone comes with Google's latest software, which for now is Android M or Marshmallow depending on how you look at it. This brings in a lot of new things, but the most notable being Now on Tap and more control over the security of your device. Now on Tap anticipates what you need in the moment by simply holding down the home button, and the phone will scan what you're looking at and present you with what it thinks is useful information. There are of course bugs with this being the first release of this feature, but when it does work, it's awesome. We're not going to dive deep into Android M as that deserves a video by itself, but we can sum it up by saying that this is the best most well put together version of Android to date. Now let's talk about the camera. This has always been a sore point for Nexus phones, but I'm really happy to report that after continued use, this camera can hold its own to all of the big dogs out there. The Note 5 still does hold the crown for Android cameras, but this isn't far behind. Its 12.3 megapixel Sony sensor takes some incredible pictures and video. Real quick, here's a pro tip. Leave the HDR on because for some reason, it makes every picture you could take on this phone much better. The depth of field is great and it performs really well in low light, which is where most smartphones struggle. It also comes with an 8 megapixel front camera that does a decent job. I'll be sure to leave a link to a gallery down below if you guys want to check out some full resolution pictures taken on the Nexus 6P. Now in terms of video, there isn't any optical image stabilization, but there is software stabilization, which does help with shaky cam. There are also options for 120 or 240 slow-mo video, which is a very nice feature. So to wrap things up, this is, in my eyes, the must-have Android phone right now. Its hardware is top-notch, and that being coupled with it being a Nexus gives this phone an edge that no other Android phone has, and that is Android updates. This is definitely going to be my daily driver, and if anyone out there is looking for a badass Android phone, I couldn't recommend anything better. And of course, let's not forget how it undercuts in price, as this phone starts at just $500, which is a steal for what you're getting. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button to show your support, and let me know down below if there are any other videos you guys would like to see done with the Nexus 6P. Thanks again for watching. This is Ed from TechSource, and I will see you in the next video.